Derek?
Right, thank you very much, and welcome to Hexham Town Council meeting of Monday, the 11th of September, here at 6 o'clock in the private hall, Hexham Abbey. So, welcome everybody. We've had a summer break, so welcome back. Everybody's fully rested. We go now into the autumn, which is always the busy autumn as we go from autumn into the winter time. It's always a busy time in Hexham's calendar. So first of all, we are going to invite a presentation from Mark Baker, who is our Hexham Heritage Guide. So Mark is here. So Mark and I have been communicating for a little while about the plans for the Heritage Guides, and we thought it would be wise to bring the guides presentation here tonight as we start that and be available to the general public. So I'll pass over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much for inviting me, everyone. I'm not going to detain long here. What I'm going to talk about is where we're coming from, what it is we do, and our experiences doing the tours so far. The initiative to set this up came from Peter Moore from Northumberland County Council about a year ago, and it's part of the Hexham Heritage High Streets Action Zone. We are 4 guides currently. We're all volunteers. We are sponsored under the aegis of Hexham Community Partnership now. And the aim of our tours is to showcase our beautiful historic town, to bring visitors and to provide purposeful activity for retired people like me. What we do is, so it says in the tin, we do historic tours around Hexham. We do it to a pre-planned route. We could do a different route, but currently we're doing the one we've got. Our route is 2 kilometres. It's an easy 90-minute walk around Hexham in broad daylight. The tours themselves take 90 minutes, which is what we were aiming for. More than that, and it gets a bit dull for people. People start drifting off. When we start off at the Queen's Hall, we go to Beaumont Street, through the Abbey grounds and the Seal, down to the Cotcherburn and the Tannery. We bring back up Market Street, past the Abbey, talk about the Abbey, we talk about the Hexham Ride, take it down to the old jail, ground school, and we call and finish back up through the marketplace again to the Queen's Hall. The tours themselves, the Queen's Hall kindly provides with a booking service so people can tours through the Queen's Hall, although we have done 2 or 3 tours for various groups in Hexham on request. Our numbers are limited to 10 because we've got all the other kit. We've only got 10 receivers, but 10 is about the most we can manage as single guides. Our experience so far, well, we've done about 15 tours between the 4 of us so far. They've been all entirely booked up, and we've not had any spare places, so there clearly is more demand than we're fulfilling at the moment. Informal feedback from people being on the tours is good. We haven't sought formal feedback yet. That I think perhaps is for next year. TripAdvisor or something like that, but we're currently not doing that. We may. Who's on the tour? Well, my own experience, I think the other guide is most of the people here are from Hexham or from other parts of northeastern England. On the tours that I've done about 5 now, we have had some people from distant parts, often with connections to Hexham. It's been quite interesting with an elderly chap, older than being the words, who was on a tour who grew up in Hexham, and he was able to tell me all sorts of interesting things about the fountain and the next to the Seal, and it was working when he was around, and all sorts of stuff. So there have been some very interesting people on the tour. Our intention is, what we've tended to do is we've tended to run the tours every Saturday when there's not a farmers market. It's just a little bit busy on a farmers market day to take a tour around. And we intend to run the tours through to October and finish them probably until April 2024. The number of tours themselves, we could put more tours on, it's limited by volunteer availability. Of course, if anybody has got a burning desire to be a historic Hexham tour guide, please let me know. There's certainly space for more volunteers. Basically, that's what we do. Thanks for listening.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right, well, thank you for that. So any questions? So Stephen and Aaron.
I think what you do is very commendable, and it's long overdue. It's kind of a lot to show off, and we haven't always showed it off as well as we can do. So somebody who's on the front line, so to speak, what would you want from an organisation such as ourselves, the Town Council, in order to support what you do?
Steve, I'd like to give some credit actually, because there has been guides that in Hexham before. I think what happened there was COVID tended to put the tin lid on the previous group of guides, and I think they just died a natural death. I don't know, we'd like more volunteers. If we had more volunteers, we could put more tours on.
Have you contacted people like the Civic Society who might be interested?
We've discussed it with various people. I mean, this has been very much, I mean, none of us are professional guides. You know, I was a general practitioner hopeless before I retired, so we could do that, yeah. And I think when we have our next committee meeting, I think we'll be looking at how we can recruit more people. We don't want to get too unwieldy. You've got to do enough tours to be proficient at it. But I think we thought that our optimal number was probably 6 to 8 guys. We've got 4 at the moment.
So this last question, so is your information about individuals as well, or is it all about historic monuments?
It's mostly the historic monuments, it's what you can see. But the individuals do come into it, so people like Lieutenant Colonel Benson on the Benson Monument, you can't go to the statue and not mention a person. Various people.
Very contentious.
Well, there was a discussion at the committee about how, yeah, that's right, there was a discussion of how we should treat the war hero, which it clearly was at the time. How we should refract that through a modern prison. Well, not prison. But was, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah.
In places like the Beaumont Hotel, I didn't realise had so much history.
Yeah.
You know, the day I mentioned it.
Beaumont Street in general, yes. Queen's Hall is the star of the show, I think, on Beaumont Street, and it's got a very interesting history. I mean, I think one of the things here we were very clear on, Steve, is we don't want to take more than 90 minutes on the tour. Yeah. And it's always harder to leave things out than it is to put things in. So there was necessarily a process of let's not do that, let's do this. The best bit, for me, historically, is Beaumont Street. It's very interesting. The nicest bit is the walk around and down the seal to Cockshall Burn, down to the Tannery. That's a really nice one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It'd be nice, one thing would be, it'd be nice if the fountain worked. But I can't see that happening in the near future.
Well, actually, on that point, the fountain, do you mean the water fountain near the Seal School?
Yeah, the one that was the Victorian one that was built by a company in Glasgow. And has the uplifting inscription, keep the pavement dry. I think the Victorians are usually a bit high minded.
On that point, actually, Hexham Space for Nature is looking at reinstating all the Hexham plants, as they're called, apparently.
Yeah. Yep.
There's 3 or 4 things.
We go past the Glover's Pants, the 1858 one down the bottom, by the time.
Yeah. So the question is, maybe just reiterate, Steve you asked the right questions, but one more would be just to reiterate to everybody how people can book. I know you've booked out, but how people can book the tours.
You book through the Queen's Hall, and so you contact Queen's Hall, go on the website and see if there's any availability. I don't think there is any right now, but we have not put any tours on in October. I think our intent, well, I'm going to put some tours on in October, so I think our intent is to put some tours on in October. We have a couple of requests from various places to do tours. I hesitate to call them private tours. They are groups in Hexham who would like to have a tour. And if we've got volunteers, we've got the kit, and volunteers will give their time, that's great. I don't want to lose sight of our objective, mind you, which is to bring visitors to the town.
Yes, can I ask you, there's two questions I'd like to ask you. So one is, who wrote the content?
Yeah, the concept, we lifted it from the Trail Tales Act, which was Peter Moore of Northumberland County Council's intention when it was set up, or based on that, and then we rewrote a fair bit of materials to go on my route. So the answer is it came from Trail Tales of ourselves.
Right,
Reading.
So the reason I'm asking that is that some years, well, a couple of years ago, I commissioned something called The Trouble with Hexham, and I invite you to listen to that, because it's the other side of Hexham, in terms of, poverty, deprivation, exploitation, slave trade, and it's really interesting, and I think it has a part to play in our description of the history of our town. So I think my supplementary question is, when people have left the tour, or leaving the tour, have the tour, do you put them in touch with any other sources of information about the history of the town, or, I mean, I would like them to listen to The Trouble with Hexham, but not necessarily. Do they know where to go for more?
We haven't done that, so as the tour goes round, we direct them to the resources, in particular the Abbey tours, the Abbey guides, the excellent display in the Abbey itself, and the Moonhall Museum, and we're not really go big on the readers with that tour, and my histories mentioned Carlisle, but Tilly House Museum in Carlisle is very good on that. We couldn't do that. I think what we would probably have to do is set it up as a website with links. That demands more technical skill with the website than I possess. I'm sure I could acquire it. So yeah, we could do that. We haven't done it this year. That's something. I've made a note. That's something to raise and something for us to consider for next year, I think. I mean, our big thing this year was getting experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the Hussars obviously funded this originally, and that's brilliant, it's payroll free, and it's fabulous. They also funded some apps and code that joined a kind of national app called the Trail Tales app. So I presume that content's all there.
We lifted much of our tour from Trail Tales. Trail Tales is quite a lot longer walk than our walk. So as I've said before, there was quite a lot we had to cut back on. Because when I went around there on my own, a very cold march there on the Trail Tales, that very interesting was, but it took me 2.5 hours. I was just on my own listening with AirPods. So there's too much in there, and we did have some other stuff. You can't go around without the Hexham. I get them to read the riot acts out in the markets. I don't actually get them to shoot them there.
Some residents lying around here. But also, I was just wondering, I did a couple of tours actually in Edinburgh and London this year, and they were free tours like this one is. But then at the end, you could tip the volunteer. I know it's all free and that's wonderful. I'm just wondering if incentives for volunteers in some way. You were just encouraged to do what you can, you didn't have to give anything, and it was really lovely. So by the end of the tour, you kind of felt you needed a guide, and you kind of wanted to sort of say, there you go, we're going to club, thank you very much for your time. A lot of them were students actually, so went for university and London as well. So I just thought that was maybe one of the kind of
Yes, I think we're very inclined to do that. Really just a replacement of the kit.
Yeah, because then you're not charging a thing up front, it's just...
Exactly. Younger people do it on their apps with the QR codes and things like that. So yes, we could do that, and I think we're very much minded to do that. So I think we probably would.
Okay.
We're not in it for the money, but yeah.
No,
the kit doesn't replace itself.
Yes, exactly.
Can I ask a supplementary question? Are you supported by, who are you supported by, or are you just a group that been set up and you're on your own?
We had an entire meeting discussing the right words to describe our relationship with Hexham Community Partnership. We are sponsored on the aegis of Hexham Community Partnership. It's a very difficult one because there's all these insurers, that they provide our insurance, and to some extent keep us on health and safety. So yeah, we're under Hexham Community Partnership. We're not part of Hexham Community Partnership, we're a volunteer group, but they are very helpful. Jez White in particular, And, we continue to be so, but we're running ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you. I'll just say a few words. But I remember going for my first tour at Hexham, and that must be like over 20 years ago, when I had the guys doing the Guilty Gates and having that tour. And even when you walk around, you think you know everything, you walk past it a million times, and they're pointing out the things that you go like, oh, yeah.
I've got so much stuff from just in the years since we've been doing this.
Yeah, so I would say to anybody who's never been on one of these tours before, this is wrong. I say many years ago when I was in there. But the point out things that are just staying in the face. That you just blasé, you just walk past and you don't recognise it. But they've actually taken it, you didn't need to stop and pause and go, look at that.
Yeah, lots of people don't look up as well.
Yeah, the whole thing about the human line of sight is instead of like looking.
I had most fire mark Halifax shop until Andrew and Halifax shop pointed out to me.
Yeah. So it's well, yes, and then certainly the point about the giving a hand or that was certainly part of the whole culture. The whole thing was to was just you give it to the family and to the family.
People that can't do that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But I thought it was a great thing to do. So I'm glad it's restarted because it can only be for the better. I've always been something that's been close to my heart is to try and educate people about the history of Hexham.
It's an interesting place.
Yes, yeah. We did today. Well, that's what was the main instigator of the 800 years, the marketplace. Because that's just close to my heart. I think we just got a massive storytelling Hexham that is pretty close book, to be honest. When you start looking into it, it's so exciting, so interesting. Lots of different things. It's lots of hard things, but it's so interesting. You think we walk down the street, you think like, I can't remember walking the steps of all these.
As I said, it's difficulties leading to that.
Yeah. But that's been fantastic. So a big round of applause. Let's hope we can speak again maybe in a year's time.
I'll keep you in touch next week.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It's
everyone.
other now. Oh, yes. That goes a lot better.
Lots of smiles. Thank you.
Well, that was nice. Okay, so that was item number 6. So I'm going to go back to item number 1 while we're here. Any questions from the Hexham residents regarding matters in Hexham? Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Barry Collins. Unfortunately, as maybe going through the whole story there, but on the 2nd of July 2018, I requested if some improvement we could make to the conventional car park. In 6th of September 2019, Mr. David Hunt, Northumberland County Council Neighbourhood Service Area Manager, said that the work was allocated in the 2021 financial year with a list of the costs, and it still hasn't been done. And in various meetings this year, Councillor Phyllis Aiken has stated various dates when the work is due to start, but nothing has happened to date. And I was just asking, do we have a start date? For the Wentworth toilet improvements, which I remember you were going to go to a meeting in January. And I think it fell through, and I was just curious why it's no sort of work being done, and there was money allocated, and it was due to be taken there.
Okay, so we have an answer for you.
Yes, we do. I'm going to read it out because it's not my words, and it's hugely disappointing. So, promises, rest, and publicity, nothing else. So, As you may be aware, the programme has delivered a number of improvements so far, including the reopening of St Mary's Wynd in Hexham. I'm pleased to say the quality of refurbishments has been very well received throughout the programme. However, achieving these good standards has been more expensive than anticipated given the initial condition of facilities and inflationary pressures in the building trade. As a result of that, property service colleagues are presenting a proposal in this year's budget setting as a proposal for additional funding to complete the refurbishment programme. Obviously, this is still a subject to the wider budget setting process, but if the proposal stays the way the budget is approved by full council, then we'll be able to firm updates for the rest of the programme and give you a date for Wentworth's refurbishment. So that was this morning, and very disappointing. And I'm hoping that the refurbishment programme will be complete because that's what was promised to us. And there was money in the budget, we were told for it this year, as we kept telling you, and they would say it was June, and then it would move it forward. And now, well, I've written an interesting email back, but I have requested that it isn't as late as next March and next summer, but that's what it's starting to look like. So that is what I know so far.
So I may have to include this in my New Year's resolution.
Revolution, please, yes. Yes, bring on the revolution, Barry. Excellent. I'll give that. Okay, so.
My only other question is, is there some planned maintenance programme or drain cleanage in Hexham?
Yes, so
Do they have some dates, or is it a 3-year period, 5-year period? I was sitting on my lunch in the Shire Gate and there was a river running down Eastgate and the drain at the bottom of the road's covered, and I walked down to opposite Lloyd's Bank and I was even trying to clear the drain myself, the water that's, I mean, it's extensive rainfall, you know, but it puzzles me that there should be maybe a planned maintenance programme. Or maybe it is, and it might be every 5 years or 10 years.
yeah, no, the point's well made. I would just, because I'm with you, I think, you know, maintaining those drains is really important because of, obviously, you know, it takes the water off the roads quickly. It means the deterioration of the roads is lesser so because more water that roads are, the more damage there is and potential, you know, like flash floods and everything else. The only thing I would say is there's a new app called Fix My Street.
Yes,
And like today, I was using it this morning because I was a burst utility being on the Corbridge Road, on one of the pavements there. You know, it's exceptional how you can just quickly like take a photograph, hit in where you are,
yes.
and you know, say look at the utility. There's obviously a water main that's bursting, all the water falling out of that. But obviously that's just reported. It's necessarily needs to get repaired, but it is reported. So all I can say to everybody is to say, look, as councillors, you know, if you come across like blocked drains, potholes, anything, you know, like we spoke with operating vehicles, like as time you just walk past stuff, and you know, it's there, and you just don't see it. It's hiding in plain sight. Is really do use this Fix My Street, then get those things recorded on there. It's really, really simple to do. It captures it, and yes, it is just a capture, but it's actually sitting there for all that work to be done. So, all I say, Barry, is I wish the working out more frequently. I mean, one of the things that we'll get back in myself, Suzanne and Trevor, when we go to the county council meeting, which is tomorrow, we always raise these things and say why is it, etc. We always raise that. Is that we keep pressing, but there doesn't appear to be a sort of a routine maintenance. I think it's just like right, they actually do it based on complaints,
Yeah,
and
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. Westford has been particularly bad this summer with all the rain, aquaplane territory, and it has been reported multiple times. The thing is infrastructure in this country is not seen as sexy. It's not photographic, it's not photogenic, and it lurches from crisis to crisis, and unless it's reported as it's happening, people seem to forget routine maintenance, and that's what's lacking at the moment in tiers of council. So,
Well, I'll be grateful if I may respond. They're meeting tomorrow, if you can ask them if there's not a plan. Maintenance program for the town, I think it's going to be 5 years or 3 years or something. The drains, some of them, they've got vegetation.
Oh, absolutely. I was saying the West Road on Saturday, and that's like weeds estate.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
obviously been there for 11.
I mean, it must probably save the council some future plans for damages for flooding and things like that.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Good.
Question?
Right, number 2 is apologies from absence.
Councillors Hall and Cessford.
Declarations of interest. Or to agree the minutes of the town council meeting held on 10 July. I'll go through each page. If anybody wants to read anything. Page 2, page 3, page 4. Everything. Permission to sign? Right, good. Five, matters arising, not on the agenda, for report only.
Sorry, can I have one? There's a biodiversity policy email to everybody, so going to be out first, but I'll send it around. I can copy our councils into that, just so you can have that and then comment on it. Would be great.
Thank you. Good. Number 7, we're now going to receive an update on Grow Hexham by Councillor Penny Brennan.
Right, thank you very much. So I thought because the growing season is almost over, that it's timely that we had an update on this project. So Grow Hexham continues to promote the growing and distributing of locally grown food through regular gardening sessions every Tuesday morning, recycling tools and events. Recent events have been held at the community garden and the town council greenhouse. The seed workshop in April at the town council greenhouse was fully booked, and the greenhouse has been fully used by the community this season to bring plants on. It's been a great success. The family day at the community garden in May had 70 attendees. The tool shed is hugely popular, with donated tools being refurbished and then collected from the tool shed at Quattro Bra allotments by anybody who wants them. Many thanks to Vinny from SV Auto and Machinery for refurbishing our donated tools. Grow Hexham has been managing the community garden on the Hexham Middle School site with Transition Timedale, providing space for volunteers and organisations to grow food. New user organisations are We Can and SBFY. As a point of interest, 95.8% of people who have completed the Hexham Town Council consultation on the future of the Hexham Middle School site said that they wanted the community garden to remain. A big push is happening now around sharing surplus food. This involves Hexham Community Grocery, number 28, and the Quattro Bra Allotments Association. And I'd like to quote from a Facebook post from the Community Grocery on the 10th of August. It said, "We're so thankful for all the local growers who donate their surplus to us. Thank you for thinking of us. Customers love having your amazing fresh fruit and veg. There's nothing like homegrown." I think this is really important because one of the big issues around food poverty is poor nutritional standards. And Grow Hexham and Community Grocery are helping to address this by giving people access to free, fresh food. Grow Hexham works with Transition Tyndale, the Family Hub, Denny Riak, who is a forest school practitioner, the Youthy, number 28, We Can, which are our social prescribers, Go Local, Hexham Community Grocery, number 28, SBFY, which is a home education group, and the Quattroborough Allotments Association. So Grow Hexham continues to work with its established partners for the benefit of the town and its residents. However, in the absence of a Hexham Town Council funding officer, no grants have been applied for, and the project cannot apply for national lottery funding again until November. This matter may become urgent, and I will keep the Hexham Town Council informed in the next couple of months. We do actually have enough money to carry on over the winter, but there's always a bit of lead-in time for funding. So at some point I might come to ask for some stopgap funding. Hopefully not, because we can apply in November for national lottery. But basically our original ambition of matching gardeners with idle gardeners with idle gardens has not taken off in the way that we anticipated, but the ambition of getting surplus food, being grown and distributed, has been hugely successful. And we're also running, workshops on how to grow plants. Every event we have has got something to do with the educational element of people learning how to grow their own vegetables and fruit. So that's all we've got. Thank you.
Anybody, is there any questions to Penny and Rob?
Just one, two, I think getting grants will be difficult. Something may well with the town council, which I think I'm just prepping people beforehand because it's very difficult to attract funding. Secondly, perhaps more interestingly, there's a lot of huge gardens in Hexham. Is there any opportunity to take advantage of people who don't use the gardens properly in terms of assistance and growing things, or is that too far?
Well, that was our initial ambition. It's been actually really interesting that we discovered a number of things about the town, but also about why people grow vegetables. So basically, a lot of vegetable growers and allotment holders, or people who are on the allotment waiting list, because we had, at the time when this was launched, there were 90 people on the allotment waiting list. So it would seem entirely logical that those people would want to grow veg anywhere. That is the social aspect of allotmenteering that people are really keen on. And there's something about that, what is quite a personal relationship between a garden owner and a gardener, that there are a lot of people who weren't interested in that. I mean, there are some partnerships going that actually work very well. So it's not saying it doesn't work, but I expected that all those 90 who were fed up with waiting because we can't find any more allotments would leave at the chance, but they didn't. And so the emphasis has sort of changed slightly, but this may also change over time because, I hope this is a project with some longevity. Is the key is the tool share and the tool shed. Because people are taking, as soon as the tools come in, those tools go out. We don't ask anybody to pay, we don't know who they are, but basically, unless there's a massive black market in old homes, which I doubt, they're being used to grow food. So we're sort of working on the principle that as long as Hexham is growing food and there's a circular economy of food so it's being distributed to those people who need it, it doesn't actually matter how it's structured.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really interesting finding because in urban projects like these, where space is actually as a premium, there are lots and lots of partnerships where people go and grow their veg in other people's gardens. But I think it's something to do with the availability of land here. So we're always looking at different ways of approaching this. But if our ambition is to get people growing more and circulating more food, then we've succeeded. It's just the manner in which it's been done was not quite what we anticipated.
Frequently,
Obviously, you were at the Queen, the Catrabra.
Yeah, yesterday.
So, have you got anything to introduce?
Yeah, it was great actually, it was quite a last minute thing, but I saw a penny there. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, so it was sort of a bit of a traditional prize giving, so we had the longest string bean and, the funniest looking vegetables and things like that. So I was just handing out the prizes for that. But yes, you're right about the social aspects. When we had a barbecue, and there were quite a few people there. You'll have seen, children as well. So obviously it does bring people together, and we managed to finish just before the rain, which was good. So yeah, I can see what you're saying about, that idea of gardening somebody's garden isn't the same. It may be equally as good, but for something different, whereas, the allotment is certainly social. I was looking down the hill at that long strip of land that apparently is owned by the Darwin house at the top. And that's quite frustrating actually, because you could get good few allotments on that, and it actually borders on to the current allotments. But yeah, obviously there's just a shortage. The quality of the produce was absolutely amazing.
Can I just come back on that, because I think now that the community garden has become more accessible and more prominent, that the fact that 70 people, so there's something about the communal nature that it seems to be important. If things continue to get even worse in terms of the cost of living, people's priorities may shift, that actually growing the vegetables is more important than the community element of it, but we're not seem to be there at the moment.
The sort of focus of this has been based around people growing for, and sharing excess to people in need. Should we not be encouraging just anybody who's got any outside space or garden to be growing something in their own space?
Yes, and we've tried that, because a lot of the big plots of gardens, apart from the huge ones in the West End, a lot of houses in the East End have got quite big gardens. But actually, and so we worked through number 28, because we were thinking, well, these are absolutely ideal, and there's a lot of families who would benefit from that. But because of the nature of the deprivation there, they just don't have the time. They're working 3 jobs, they have a family. So there's this quite interesting tension between the people who may well benefit the most, if you like, are the people who have the least capacity to do it. Which is why getting somebody to garden somebody else's garden seems to be the solution.
But I'm just thinking, don't they just try and get everybody next room, even if it's just like a food basket, show tomatoes, just to try and get people into it. Because the more we produce here, the less it's being.
Yes, it is about food waste, about food miles. Yeah.
And of course, there's edible Hexham, which is been done for several years.
Yeah, and we work alongside them as well. But yeah, we do have a campaign that starts in the spring that says grow for Hexham, Well, you can get a spade from the tool shed.
Yeah.
Also,
No, they haven't sold them. I think the council could probably afford to buy a spade. I might say so.
Good, excellent one, thank you for that. I'm really interested to see how, obviously it's like fascinating to hear about certain subjects. You have probably assumptions and preconceived ideas, and then you put that little boat into the pond, and the wind gets it and takes it to a certain direction. You go, like, actually it isn't what you thought, and it may be turned into something else, but actually that something else might be a great opportunity. So really interesting. Good, right. So our next item is to receive a presentation on the bandstand session and the Bluegrass Festival. Where's your guitar?
Well, it's at home.
Oh.
Well, me again. So just quickly, so this is the 3rd year of the bandstand sessions, and I cannot say thank you enough to the town council. They're hugely popular. and hugely successful, despite the absolutely dismal weather that we've had. And the first 2 years were great, you know, in terms of weather. But despite that, people still came out. And I just think that's a testament to how popular they are. And they were hiding under the trees. And one occasion, the weather was so bad that we actually had them on the bandstand with the musicians. And it was cosy and intimate, and everybody loved it. And I think the other thing that's really important is that the musicians, are so grateful to be asked to play, first of all, in the park, which is such an exquisite environment, on the bandstand. And they just love the whole environment. We pay them, and that's really important that they're paid for their services. But that's not the primary thing. They just say, we've never come across anything around here like this, and it's so friendly and intimate and beautiful, and they are so well received, and there's a whole range of music that's played, you know, it's a whole range. So, you know, my great thanks to Core Music, who primarily do the programming. In fact, wasn't consulted on the programming at all this year, which was just great, because, you know, I was helping out before, but that wasn't necessary. And so we're having a review meeting, which I will go to, and we will talk about what's coming up next year. So I do hope it's going to be funded next year. But the big thing that happened this year was that in the middle weekend, so the bandstand sessions ran throughout July, the month of July and August on Sunday. The last weekend of July was the Bluegrass Festival. And last year we piloted an afternoon of bluegrass music on the bandstand as part of bandstand sessions, and 400 people came. Now there are a disproportionate number of bluegrass musicians in this town in relation to the size of the population. Rumour has it that if you take that relationship, that we've got more bluegrass musicians than anywhere else in the world, and I don't believe it for a minute. That's quite a nice thing to say, anyway. Unless you hate bluegrass, which is terrible. So it was hugely successful, and so we fundraised to set up the Bluegrass Festival. And it took a great deal of work, but was immensely successful on all sorts of levels. First of all, it didn't rain, which was great. But 24 acts, we had workshops, we had demonstrations, we had stalls, we had two we call the two tents, one was a bandstand and we had another tent. We had people who are professional and make their livings playing music. We had amateur groups and local groups. There was a whole range. There was a youth bluegrass group there. And we had sessions in pubs, we had bands in pubs, we had a hoedown, which is the equivalent of a ceilidh, which was completely sold out. The tannery ran out of beer and food. And so by all measures, it was really, really successful, incredibly successful. We came in on budget, we attracted people from all over the country. People came down from Scotland, people came from the southwest, because there is no centre of bluegrass in the northeast. And since the
How did
stage,
you find bluegrass?
well, it's cheery tunes to death and murder, basically. You know, it comes out the Appalachians. It's an American type of music. Lots of banjo, lots of fiddle, but it wasn't solely that. It was strained into, just country and Americana. So it was a music festival with a sort of theme, but it's acoustic mainly, guitars, vocalists.
Have you ever seen the movie Deliverance?
So
Not very often,
That's the closest one I was.
No, it's both brother, both not then. It's
Oh.
actually all the music, and a lot of music in that is bluegrass. But we did a series of events in the run up to bluegrass, because we thought, well, that's all very well if we know what bluegrass is. So I'm glad that you asked the question. So we did busking in the marketplace. We had Oh Brother Where Art Thou as a showing, and there was music beforehand. We did a talk in the library, which was called the Bluegrass Chat, and it was just people talking about bluegrass. It's huge amount of knowledge and demonstrating things like that. So we were looking at doing a number of things in the run-up to it. But I think the key thing that we want to say, apart from the fact that we had no negative feedback at all, we had no litter. At the end of Sunday, all the litter was in the bins provided by the county council. We never made an announcement about please take your litter home. It was extraordinary. I've never been to a festival where there was no litter. So that was one I was filled with joy about that, because I would have had to pick it up with some other people. But I did, one of the things that I personally was insistent on the committee was that no food and no drink would be sold at the festival. And that might seem sort of indicative that why would you do that? But my argument was, apart from the complexity of having food vendors in the park, which is usually complicated, they have to have licenses and health and safety and all sorts of things like that, that actually if you go to a festival, you have to walk further than the Abbey or the marketplace in order to get to the tea. And what it would do was take people into the town. And unfortunately, I was right. So I went and talked to a lot of shops afterwards, and Alison kindly put on the Independent Traders WhatsApp group, came from the Blue Cross Committee, would like to know what was the festival like for you. It was amazing, actually.
Well, it was unilaterally, everybody was delighted that you've done what you have done. And everybody thought, and everybody who was food and drink related reported an increase in sales, so I think.
And the charity shops. I mean, the thing is, I started going into places that had absolutely no relationship at all to either bluegrass or food and drink. Just thinking, well, what about the rest of the town? Somebody posted, it didn't affect my business because I am appointment based, but the town was completely full of people. People were saying, I've never been here before, I'm coming back. And so in terms of stimulating the local economy, it was really, really successful. And the Hexham Community Partnership were fantastic, Hall Music was fantastic, everybody was fantastic, we had volunteers, we had collection buckets, the county council were amazing in terms of navigating, because we had no funding officer at the time, but navigating my way through paperwork. So the whole thing was a win-win. And we will do it again, funding and allowing, because of course we did a crowdfunder last time. So we've got to decide how we go forward. But I'd like to thank everybody who participated. I'd like to specifically thank Derek for behaving like Morecambe, I said Morecambe and Wise. And we had to talk for 15 minutes while there was a delay for a band coming in, which was good. People enjoyed that. So yeah, it was. It was
Well, thank you.
hugely successful. So,
Thank you. One last question.
yes.
If you were building on that, I mean, the town council universally has supported you, and that's the right thing to do. I sound like my boss here. Having been a huge success, how do you build on that in terms of taking it forward? Have you aspirations to make it an annual festival? And I mean, as you're talking to I think that the Queen's Hall should be more involved in it. Is this going to be the centre of bluegrass for the future? Have we got a plan that says this is the start of it and this is where we want to be?
Well, that was one of the ambitions that was stated by Rupert Hughes, who is a bluegrass tutor, as you've often heard, and makes his living playing bluegrass. He said there's a gap, there's a total gap in bluegrass provision, and somehow it's coalesced around Hexham, and we want to make it the centre of bluegrass in the North East. So we did set up Bluegrass in Hexham, which is an overarching group of people where we can do courses, we can do events, we can do concerts. It's not just all focused on the festival, but that will all feed into the festival. So our ambition is to do it again. I think now that people have seen that it worked, that more people will want to actually participate in terms of either staying open on Sunday in order to service the needs of the people who are visiting, or locations. And we had to look at locations that were free, and that that the cost was covered by the benefit, so our locations were in public houses to start this year. But if we can move that on, and involve more people, then yes, but it's definitely on the map now, and it is partly due to the hugely well-networked core of tutors who got us in the British Bluegrass magazines. I mean, the publicity was extraordinary. It went all over the country. So that's their ambition, and I applaud that actually. I mean, we don't want 1 million people coming, because it would just be a nightmare, but, you know, we could have something that is bigger, more consolidated, and distributed around the town.
Good, thank you.
You know, obviously the bandstand sessions were good, but with the Bluegrass Festival, that was the most dominant of all the features of the bandstand sessions in there. I was there for the days, and I know some of the musicians like Robert Hughes and stuff, and it was just great to be alive there and just see it all. It was just so wonderful. To see how many bands they have, the like 2 stages, which you didn't mention, that, you know, we had like 2 stages, there was 2 stages going, by the new town council gazebo there to thing, and it was interesting, just some of the people who actually helped out and, you know, worked behind the scenes. One guy, he actually, instead of taking all the gazebos and the tents and everything down, he actually brought his motorhome onto the sea and slept overnight in his motorhome. So he would be like a security guard. Yeah. And it's all these like little things that like happen behind where, you know, like all that sense of like, you know, support, and he is a festival goer, and he has organised things in the past, so he knows how these things operate, and he was out in the middle of the night and talked to a few people who were, you know, had a few sherbets and walked through the park, and, you know, just, you know, nothing was going to happen, but, you know, just make sure that everything was safe, and you didn't have to like collapse everything and bring it back up again, because obviously that's a lot of work, but really fascinating, that support. And I think also, Penny, if I remember right, I think the musicians were putting each other up in each other's houses, weren't they, just to keep the costs down. You know, there's a lot of support from people going like, hey, I've got to stay ahead, you know, just to try and keep all those costs down and have that. Certainly you know, it was just fabulous. And I went to I remember I went to the Mexican restaurant and he said they had done amazing. He said it was the busiest day, it's fantastic. And the tannery on the Saturday evening, when there was just the whole influx of all the musicians and everybody sort of started playing, it was just astonishing. It was absolutely amazing. The pub run dry and everything. It was just absolutely astonishing how, you know, just the warmth of the whole thing. I think we may have, you know, uncovered a huge opportunity that Hexham could sort of, if we galvanise this correctly, play that role and position Hexham to be the bluegrass centre of excellence in the north east, if we can galvanise that properly. And you know, we've got that brilliant bandstand and it's perfect.
So just like one thing I forgot to say, which I think, you know, if we're doing funding applications, it's quite important, is that somebody's volunteered to help with the bandstand sessions and also helped with bluegrass, who is a young man who did music and music tech at university. And he's working alongside the person who does all the music tech for the bandstand session. So it's something about him being mentored, and, you know, he's very happy to do it, but and he's delighted actually, because it's an opportunity that he just thought he wasn't going to have again.
Yeah.
So there have been all sorts of unintended bonuses.
Is there an opportunity to learn from other types of music festivals in terms of funding?
Yes, and in fact, the partner of one of the people on the committee actually organises a really big festival, and I can't remember which one it is, in the northeast, and she said, I'll give you some advice. So, I mean, the scale of that is huge, you know, the ones that she does. So it's about networking, and I think that's what it's really demonstrated this time, is that people who know a whole range of things have a great deal of experience in festivals. They all play at festivals all the time. They know also what doesn't work behind the scenes, has fed into the planning of this.
As you're talking to me now, I've got an application into the Lions, for example.
We've got some money from them.
That's why you're in front of me.
Because it this year, yeah, we were funded by James Knott,
Yeah,
the Lions, and then the crowdfunding, where 65% of our target was provided by the Northern Tyne-Nares Authority.
well, there's lots of little pots on there
Yeah,
that might be.
Yeah, so we'll
might be
start
helpful.
looking at that.
Yeah.
But if you come across, if anybody comes across any pots of money, either for gardening or for the festival, please let me know.
Would you consider the community centre as well as one of the venues?
Yeah, well, we had the logo down there, yeah, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. And I think the idea of like not putting food and drink stalls into the scene was an absolute superb. You know, like sometimes, you know, you're always trying to over-engineer, and sometimes actually taking that step back and going, actually, step back and allow those who trade in this town, you know, all the time, and not just somebody who would just like come in for you know 3 hours and you know cream up, but actually to allow those who actually operate in this town for all the time, who are here through you know winter and summer, you know through dog days, you know, and you know, the Januaries and Februaries, you know the trades probably like that they actually get as much as they can out of this. Certainly the few people I was talking to, when, you know, the amount of, you know, I know you're not supposed to drink in here in this scene, but I don't think anybody particularly noticed, was that local supermarket must have made a killing on that, because, you know.
Just generally.
Yeah.
All sorts of things.
The little map that was produced was really nice, wasn't it, showing.
Yeah, so that's why, yeah.
Where to go.
Yeah, so I'd say that's what we have instead of a food map, so we did go around and say, when are you open, and so it was plotted. So I think that will be much more comprehensive next year.
Yeah, really good. Yeah,
Yeah, thank
excellent.
you.
Brilliant. Right. Okay, number 9, mayor's announcements. That was it seemed to be a very busy man. I don't seem to have a awful lot to say for it. To be honest. I was going to mention the Catterborough allotment that they attended on Sunday. We'll talk about that. So, is there anything else you want to add?
Not about that, no, that's great.
Obviously the blue grass, we'll talk about that. So looking forward, there's the Museum of the Moon. So that comes up, and obviously Hexham Town Council has provided a amount of money towards the Museum of the Moon. So that's on from the 29th of September until the 11th of November. 29th September till 11th of November. So make sure your contacts are fully aware of that. And there's things like the it's Pink Floyd's 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon, your first album. So I reckon it was the Nolans, but that was all. Well, she did go to see Shiwani. She did go to see Shiwani. There's the 16 up in concert. I did go and see the 16 some years ago in Hexham. There was amazing, the 16. And then there's a gala dinner and a amazing discussion with Bill Chung, who was outstanding photographer, I think. Celestial. There's the Hexham Abbey Festival of Music and Art on the 21st to the 24th of September, so that is very, very soon. And there's Christo Horijan, who I've seen at the Hexham Abbey. He's worth having a watch, but there's also quite a lot of other things on there as well. And then there's the Fine Festival, which is on the 30th of September. It's a brand new thing. It's about finding new things, and there's a family-friendly festival, so there's some artists and all sorts of things, so that'll be all very interesting, and that's in around the Seal Park. Scoop Night, see that's in October, so we'll talk about that at a different time. I'm attending the Park Run Quiz Night, which is it's obviously the race run for the Hexham Park Run that's been going for several years now. It's good. Done that one. Town 20 next to Mettingham. So nobody has been to Mettingham from the Town 20 Association since 2018, so it's quite a gap. Obviously, COVID got in the way, but obviously the way the times fell, so it's been some 5 years since that relationship and that visitation to Birmingham has been. So I'm going there in September and it's here. It's quite a combination. So it's not only are we going as Hexham, there's Noyon or French Town, who are also twinned with Mettingham. They're attending, and also a town from Hungary, so I can't recall the name, who are twinned with Mettingham are going to be there also. So it's going to be I think 4 towns coming together. Quite interesting.
So who are the town bringing people going?
Yeah.
There's other people going.
I think maybe 20 to 30. So it's good turnout. 20 to 30. So it's good.
Sorry, David, there was one thing I just did at the beginning of the summer, that was the, I can't remember how many years it was now, birthday celebrations at the Mark of the University of the Third Age, which actually I realised I'd heard of, but knew nothing about, and it's a very interesting organisation actually. They run a huge number of groups. In fact, they'll do anything I think that anybody's interested in, as long as they've got somebody to sort of facilitate it. So yes, I just went and had a cup of tea and some.
What is the university?
Yes, I don't know. It's just quite a lot, we've got a lot of members. It's actually a national organisation and there are local groups. And it's really to get people together to enable them to pursue things that they're interested in. So they'll have like a jigsaw group or a Spanish group or
It's sort of like a sort of knowledge share, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people with
Is it
expertise.
Quakery?
No, it's just
Is it religious?
people with experience or expertise in a particular field go along and teach their skill to other people. So it could be literally anything, like whether it's a language or basic DIY skills to philosophy.
So it's a community church without the religion.
It's
There's nothing churchy about it at all.
Or a community group, sorry.
It's literally just sharing expertise. I mean, you could have somebody who's like a university professor of philosophy and he goes and does a class and people go along if they're interested.
It's sort of like free
Flower arranging, stuff like that, anything.
And so it's age limited, so.
Yeah.
It's
That's why it's the third age, so it's.
And what's the age?
Well, my car's in my trust choice, so there we go.
I don't think it's essential, I think you have to be
Tired, yeah.
or semi-retired or semi-retired. I think functioning minors come and talk to us.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good
I've
idea.
worked with the U3A over the years, and I think it's a fantastic
I
model
was, yeah,
in terms of community resilience and interest.
yeah.
And I first got to know them when they got stuck in their creative writing, and they said, can we put a tutoring in for 6 weeks, just to give us a kick start,
Yeah.
and then we don't ever want to see you again, and that was perfect.
So there's the whole idea that they share their expertise and knowledge.
No, I think inviting them is a really good idea, actually, because it's very
Really well kept secret.
They are, they really are. As I say, I've heard of them, but I was amazed by the diversity of the interests and, you know,
So I'm just going on the website here, and it says like U3A, University of Learn, Laugh, Live, saying do something brilliant today. It's a UK-wide collection of 1,000 plus charities that provide the opportunity for those no longer in work to come together and learn for fun, make the most of life and enjoy more than 430,000 members exploring new skills, ideas, interests through your local group. Good works.
in fact, I think there's a group on at the moment that's on the side downstairs.
Huge friendship.
Yeah, massive, yeah. Well, the mark that was full.
As featured on Hexham TV.
Sorry?
As featured on Hexham
Oh,
TV.
yes, it was featured on Hexham TV, you're right. And actually, that was brilliant, Pete, because before I went, I watched your video, so I didn't know what I was talking about. I forgot to do my speech. So yes, thank you.
So we'll take an action to get an invite to
Yeah.
University of the 30s.
I'll give you a contact person. There should be a photo, I think, did I forward that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and number 10 is to agree the accounts for payment as listed. So that is I'll just go through each page just to stop me if you have any questions. Page 6. Suzanne. Page 7.
Page 7, yes. What's the Newcastle Diocese called, the Whitley St Anne's Field Road?
It was an invoice that shouldn't have been paid. It relates to premises that are actually in the Hexham Shire Parish Council area.
Right.
The Whitley St Helens Field has a play park, and the invoice was sent to the wrong council. It got paid by this council in error. I've been in touch with the people concerned, and they have now refunded it. And in fact, I think they actually refunded it in time for it to be listed on the subsequent page.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Page 8. Page 9. And then page 10. Page 11. 12.
So, I think this is normal, page 10, the VAT refund, that's normal every year we get a VAT refund. So the VAT refund of 26,000, that's just normal. We normally get a VAT refund.
Usually submit an application for that refund twice a year, so this was a little late, but it's the 6 months between October and April. And next month, one will be submitted for the following 6 months.
Right, yeah, I just looked at it and thought, well, that's quite nice, but I thought that's normal in there.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to be up by 26, but not.
Yeah, it doesn't count as a budget thing, but it.
Yeah. 12 and 13. Note the draft minutes and close of committee meetings held in July. So page 14, so that's community engagement. Anything to raise the community engagement? Anything you want to raise as the chair?
No, that was, 2 meetings ago. I didn't chair this meeting because I was, somebody's ill, so
Okay.
that sort of been stepped in for me,
Yeah.
thankfully. So,
That's
did it not?
Yeah, so 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, the next item is the Remembrance Committee, subcommittee, page 18. Anything to raise?
No, just call out the volunteers again, and which one group does it, does an amazing job of what it's one of Hexham's biggest events, and not placing put a call out for town council to be just more visible. There, it is our event, it's not their event, and then the hands on deck, if they can, you know, they're kind of, well, they're not dwindling, they're still very much in force, but, you know, with that in mind, you know, longevity, that, you know, people can sort of step up and maybe be visible in the marketplace to kind of get the groups together and make sure there are no gaps, and the parade just reassures some of the, you know, scouting groups, and maybe so that would be really helpful. Because it is, yes, it's a huge organisation, it's really.
Good. Next page is the finance and general purposes, page 20 and 21. Anything? Anything?
No, that's not.
Yes.
Right. So, and the final item is to note correspondence received.
So since the last full council meeting, we've had information on our form. Now can you use the defence? Can you use Northumberland CVA support services? Temporary traffic regulation orders relating to Mills Bank, Wallace Lane and Priestlands Lane, Chrysalis newsletters, an invitation to a stage flight photography exhibition that was in August, on Age UK Northumberland, the proposed Hexham Terrace Highway scheme, the crowdfund North of Time workshop that was in August, the County Council and offering food trees, an invitation regarding Discover Hexham on the 21st of this month, Tyne Valley Community Rail Partnership News, North East Ambulance Service Promotion for Volunteers, Hexham Civic Society AGM invitation that was last week, Health Watch Northumberland AGM invitation, which is for the 18th of October, Humblebee bulletins, the Tynedale Local Area Committee agenda for tomorrow, and the County Council Annual Town and Parish Councils Conference, which will be on the 5th of October.
Yeah, just to say on the back of that, actually, it reminded me that the Civic Society's AGM, so, Councillor Penny Brown and I presented our survey that we've been doing on the HMS site, because the theme was the HMS site, and it was incredibly well attended by residents, and some great ideas, and we presented the survey as is now, and its findings, and they were quite amazing. I'm just wondering, would it be worth presenting those findings once the survey ends at the end of September to full council or back to the community engagement group to see, because they, you know, they're quite overwhelmingly supportive of things like the community garden and using it for communal services and things. We've had a good response to that survey.
And I think certainly because of the wide interest, the whole council will be interested in that.
Right, okay.
So it just, just a matter of, just a bit, an update on.
Who would present that? Suzanne, would you get the present it, or would you start?
Well, it's our survey, so I think it would be to us, just the results of what we okayed, basically, and see what the residents have said.
And the discussion that followed that is quite relevant.
It was very relevant, actually. It was a really good discussion, I felt. And then we could, you know, well, do like
Let's talk about it,
and see if the public want to come along to this to see it as well.
I mean, yeah, that's good, that's good. I mean, it may be that, also that will be a staging post, but at some stage we might want to hold a public meeting just about the Hexham School, you know, as held by the Hexham Town Council. There's no reason why I can't do that, once we get some more information, with the feel at the point of readiness to do that.
Yeah, because I'm feeling that the consult's going out in November, the master plan consult, that's going to be, we haven't been given a deadline, but certainly that's what's been plotted for, so if we get ahead of that, that would be good.
Grand, right, that's the end of tonight's business.
Sorry,
yes, Bob.
I just think we should note on record about the town clerk and that Jane coming in. I just think it should be recorded in the minutes.
Yes.
I think that would be very useful if there was any comeback in the future.
Yes.
So could you use the formal words? So just to thank the previous town clerk for their response, wish you well in the future, and then probably so.
Yeah, we'll add that into the end of this meeting. Good. Okay, thank you.